All right, what's going on? Everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So we are actually going to be doing the later half or the second half of the alteration review. I'm at this page right now because, like, it's been like a few hours after I did like the double Shia Quanta, and I have some time to just kind of look over things. And what I have noticed or what I have seen, people were just talking about. If you guys take a look at the end date of these two banners, you can see there is the difference. The double shit quanta actually ends just right next week, so it's right on time with like a 1 week, like every week type of banner ending in a week. But if you take a look at the Gundam Helios, you will see that it's ending on the 31st. So this is probably a quite surprise to see, I guess. That doesn't last a month. I would say if a banner lasts around a month or even 3 weeks straight, I think that is good for the player base in a way. Obviously, it's not good for the company, right? They're trying to obviously trying to get revenue by having us summon a lot, buying all those horses and all that. But I feel like if a banner was like a 3 week period, I think that is a lot more feasible than just like every week consistent summoning, right? Obviously in this game you don't have to summon every other banner, right? Or every banner per se. This leads me to thinking about it because yesterday by looking at these two or even like when they dropped these two unit, I was overhyping myself just because like the overall stats and what they can do. But I kind of neglected the fact that not a lot of people want to summon it, right? Not a lot of people will like the double shell quanta. I'm pretty sure this is a unit that a lot of people have not even seen before, right? Because obviously it did not get the representation that it should because it's like a side character from even on a special edition of the build fighter try. So I feel like not a lot of people get noticed into unless they have picked up their actual model kits, like the actual gunpla kits, then they know it. So it makes sense that a lot of people won't even summon for it because it's not a unit they like. So that's something I kind of want to address a little bit, because I did see a lot of people like, oh, I'm not really going for it because I don't like this unit. So that's totally fine, right? I think to be frank, right? It's just really best to summon for something you like over something that's overly hyped, like these two units over here. Like I kind of overhyped them myself just because of like they're groundbreaking with those 40% stat to both first and second portrait. So that's why I said, oh, they're good. But in reality, and not a lot of people really care about those stuff. They just kind of get the unit they like and then make the custom and call it a day, right? So that's pretty much it. I just want to cover that just a little aspect of it. If you don't summon for diesel unit, it's totally fine. You're not losing out on you are gonna be losing out, but you're not losing out to the fact that you cannot clear any missions in the game. I think that's the whole premise of it, I guess. But let's now jump right into the Gundam Helios over here. Like I mentioned already, the head is probably the main headliner of the whole unit itself. Probably one of the best part that have came out alongside with the Shia Quantum Arm. Because of this over here, we're not even going to talk about the side. We're going to talk quickly about the portrait first. So this is a first time, alongside the arm, the Shia Quanta, we're having a double 40% boosting over here. So what this portrait actually does is when you have high firepower, which is which is a vortex, some people may not activate. So if this is something, I would say if you can just trying to see if you can make yourself run this vortex, I think it will be a lot more beneficial. We have seen a lot of parts lately that does come with like high firepower. I think that's a pretty generic word tag they give to a lot of these stronger units, I guess. So when you do have high firepower active, you do get an EXQ power boosting by 40%. And then when your armor is 90% or more, this is a catch, 90% or more. So if your build is any less health like if your build does not equip with good armor or good defense, chances are you might get hit really hard in those harder type content. Like let's talk about maybe in those daily crew missions, I would get hit by I would I think in most cases I would probably fall below like 70 around 70-ish health bar, I think at times. So if that happens, I'm not getting the extra 40% over here. So one thing to keep in mind at base level 1, you are starting out at 25% already, so that's the catch. I always do look at it for the max, but for these you do want to look at it at trade level 1, just to compare it with the older Sokais. I just want to call them old because new system, I guess, new portrait, super Sokai. Okay, Yeah, so they're 25% compared to the regulars. The one we've been having or we have been seeing in the trend is a 17-20 split. So you are, what is it, around 37 compared to, so you're losing out around, what is it, 35? No, not 35, excuse me, 13. That is around 13% less. This is a base level one, so. This is good, but I would say this does have its own stipulation, does have its own weaknesses and all that. A lot of people may not have the luxury of running high firepower, so that is one thing. If you can't force a high firepower, this is going to be a meaningless trait for you all out there. And then secondly, if your build is not anything too tanky, I want to say tanky, but if your build does not revolve around some healing at any means, once you do get hit, for example, because we can't see, we don't have like a good idea of like what is the percentage. It's only like a straight health bar, so there's not no indication. I guess when that does get implemented in terms of like having like a direct percentage of like your armor bar or whatever, I think this will be easier to gauge because most we have seen is like when you have 80% or less percentage, that is something harder to proc as well. This one you do kind of have to maintain it if possible. Like I'm pretty sure it's pretty fairly easy for some of you guys to kind of keep around that 90% projectile armor, I guess, so it's not the worst, but this have its own stipulation, just kind of, but is this something you need to get right? If you just compare back to your old Sokai, not really in a way. We overall the stat you're looking at 11.4K up to your 30% gear conversion. But if you take a look at some of the older ones like this, I'm just gonna name them out right now. We do have Soul Sam that is our current build project unit. That one comes in at 11.3K, and then you have your the Serbi, what is it, the one from the build project, that one comes in at again 13.k again. So and then you have your build project, not your build project, you have your full armor double zeta that also comes in at 11.3. So this one I would say is at the top rankings, right? Top two, how I put it right now. The one like a more famous one we have seen, the Kasai Gundam coming in at 11.1. So you see a lot of you see a lot of drops like coming in, right? I think there's only around, let's see, there is currently about 8 parts that comes into the 11K region or range. Unicorn predictability, high new version Ka, and then Kasai and all that. So you do see a lot of backdrop. I think what we have upcoming, there is a leak already. We know that on Friday or Thursday night, we are going to be getting the Strike Freedom and Infinite Justice banner back again as another rerun. I personally made the Strike Freedom like ever since the initial rerun. So now looking back at it, the strike freedom is only at 10,886. So you see a slight power creep along the way. So is this something you need to get? I would say no. If you can get it, that's great. But if you cannot get it, it's not something you have to force yourself to get it for whatever means. I would say chasing it part is harder than just like getting it on the luck, I guess. So you don't get it, don't be discouraged. You can still use, I would say, whatever portrait level you guys are looking at will still be viable, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people might have, just more than that base, trait one. So if that's the case, you're pretty good. So no need to really chase it. But if you are someone who is lucky enough to get the head, congratulations, because this one actually, just now mention it, this one can work both in a melee and shooter build. Because this one is just a general EXQ boosting, you're not restricted to like, oh, melee power boosting or shooting power boosting. So that's that. So you can use this on both builds. Word tag wise, support both builds as well. You do have high firepower. It's a great bridge to both builds. Gundam type is obviously a lot more geared towards that shooter build, but you can use Gundam type to kind of, because there are some melee parts that does have Gundam type, so you can kind of bridge on right there, so you do have no problem. Okay, I think I went a little bit too far or too much talking about the head, because that is a crucial part on a shooter build, right? So, all right, moving on to the chest over here. In terms of the chest, you do have pretty decent stat, like just from looking at this right now for the shooter builds. In terms of the melee, I would say the overall premise of the Helios Gundam is a dual build, so that's something to keep in mind. But you will see you will find throughout that the melee aspect is not as impressive as the shooter side of it. That's something to just kind of look at when you just look at the Excel sheet or the just the little Excel chart. This one is gonna be a EX skill. You know, like I kind of mentioned again, with the new skin system, you can run this on your build and still are able to use this on your skin, the custom skin. So you can use this for the like the amazing shot attack stat over here, no problem. You just have to sub slot something that gives you a portrait, for example, right? EX skill wise over here, you do have a breast being Vulcan over here. So this is not your magazine type over here. This is just a generic like a EX skill over here. Is this something you want to alterate for the EX skill? I would say not necessary. I would say that's a an alterate version. Should be good already. Should be doing a B plus power if I recall. But obviously, a lot of people may be looking at this as a stat sticker. You know that this is something you can use, right? It will be coming at a fair amount, like 5,500 with the conversion gears. So you are looking pretty good for the chest. So that is something. Tag wise, high firepower and Gundam type, so excellent versatile. You know, just for a shooter build, obviously not too bad. But there is something to keep in mind that we are actually going to be getting a free to play Gundam Helios as well. Just just kind of add it on top of that. So for whatever reason you don't submit for this, you will be able to get this. You will be able to get the full suit model eventually, right? Maybe not with the best of not. Maybe the stat is not going to be as comparable to the summonable one, obviously, but it would still be pretty good, just to have as a collection purposes, right? Moving on to the arm over here. So this is the part I do personally have. So this, if you guys have seen already, like the EX skill, I think a lot of people have played through one of the stage that feature Helios Gundam. So I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen the EX skill already. So this one is gonna be the Palm of Anacina over here, just a rapid fire version of it. So we have seen this version multiple times from the Artemis, Arius, and even a Destiny Gundam in the like the regular Destiny, and then the Hidden First a bit. So it's nothing groundbreaking or new over here. Do you need to alterate it? It really depends on like if you are someone who needs it for the overall stat purposes, then you want to alterate it. If you're someone that is mainly using this for the overall purpose of like using on a skin as an EXQ, you may not need to alterate it because I would say B power. Is it B power? Let's actually check then. Should be okay. Let me click on it. Yeah, it's doing B plus power, so I would say it's manageable. I would say B plus power is it should do just enough good damage where you can take down enemies and all that. But if you want a next level damage dealing, you can alterate it for just a little bit of that extra damage. Overall stat for melee is actually pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie, like it's good. But this one does have an E skill, so your best option is gonna do some sub slot purposes or just do some big scale sub slot. Just for either like a shooter. If you are doing this for a shooter, I don't know if there's a good shooter for a EX skill wise. Let's check the P type wing in them here. Yeah, this one is not. This one has high mobility, so that's kind of unfortunate. Because the other one boosts a little bit more towards that, melee aspect of it. This one does not work as well. But if you do use wing Gundam, you at least do get a 20% conversion rate, 20.5, so you're not losing out too much on that. Besides that, like you do get, so this is the problem you see, right? You do like you see some portrait stipulation where you have when your armor is 80% or less. So this is the problem compared to the Helios 90% or more. It's easier to maintain than losing it because how often can you take damage, right? Depends on the stage. That is so right. So this one can be good. It's this one the first portrait. This is really gonna be situational in how you can activate that. But other than that, yeah. All right. So moving on to the leg over here. The leg does have a evenly distributed stat over here. I think the one takeaway from the leg over here is not the offensive stat. It's actually gonna be the resistance over here. So beam and physical resistance is actually top notch over here. Whenever we get another one of those, let's say beam resistant arena mode specifically, or physical resistant both specifically, this leg over here is gonna come in handy for sure. But obviously for arena, it's more of like a really competitive nature. So a lot of people will just kind of do it just just doing it just to clear the daily mission is not. They're not really going for the top ranker, but whatever. Like if anyone is interested when those mode, like what kind of part you want to be looking at, this one is the excellent choice. 2700 is good. This is definitely a good part to have for that most specifically. But in terms of the offensive side, I would say melee is actually pretty impressive. Like the starting out number as the offensive raw offensive melee, you're looking at 37. That's a pretty good number. That's good. But the melee, the defensive value does not translate too good when you do the conversion gear. That's why you don't see a 5,000 digit, for example, right? That's why. But overall, like just the raw melee attack is good. Shot attack is just a little bit 1,000 less, but that's fine because this one is a little more like a dual type build, so that's whatever. Word tag wise, you do have high firepower and pro tag, so there you go. There is your bridging word tag to that melee build. In terms of the EX or the portrait wise, this is another excellent EX skill or a portrait wise you want to be using. The reason being, this is another one of those situations where you can run this effectively onto both build. I would say this one is more specifically geared towards a dual type build because you do have pro tag over here, and then you do have strictly this EXQ boosting. So you are going to be able to take advantage of doing both melee and just shoot an EXQ no problem. But one thing to keep in mind that when you do see these double EXQ, like the one from the head and this one, when you do your normal and just regular shooting, like just regular shooting, you're not gonna see any large damage coming out of those because these right here does not support any of your normal, like your normal hits, right? Normal melee, normal shooting, you're not gonna get anything out of that. But I would say 90% of the time you are gonna be using some sort of EXQ base move to kind of finish up your enemy. So I mean, it just kind of makes sense to run this over here. But if you don't have this leg over here, it's not gonna hurt you at all whatsoever because there are so many different options out there already. But this is just a pretty excellent one to have as a dual type build over here. So the head is the only part that have a 40% boosting, and then the rest of it is just your regular 30 and 35 split, just like your older guys over here. So moving on to the backpack, man. The backpack, yeah, they took the backpack to a completely different level. So let's start out with base level 1 EX or EX over here. You are looking at a S plus power rating. You don't often see S plus power in any of our current, like the older Sokai, altered EXQ. This is the first time we see a base level 1 having a S plus power, but if you max it out to level 10, you get a SS minus. Yeah, SS minus should do big damage. Because my melee build specifically does not boost beam EXQ a lot, so I cannot really use the full latent potential of what this EXQ can do. But do let me know if you guys do have it and you guys do have trade that support, let's say beam EXQs and whatnot. Let me know what kind of what is your result compared to just your regular EXQ, because man, this one is busted. Like, I mean, if I can ever get this guy to like a level 10, but that's what we get. But we can expect them in this fashion model. They're gonna continue to kind of drop some SS power casting E skill. So this one will not be the first. Will be the first, but not gonna be the last one you're gonna see. So do expect some more later down the road. Either it's gonna be every time when we see some Sokais, or those limited time banner, or on a special occasion like the anniversary. You can expect these are gonna be the new norms. Gonna be the new norms. Just moving armor, right? So pretty good. In terms of effects, you're not going to get any health restoration, but you're also going to get a speed increase and also a 49% of a melee increase to your overall squad. So that's pretty good. In terms of the word tag, you are looking at pro tag and high firepower. So a um, pretty good word tag wise over here. In terms of the overall stat, it's good. I would say it's in that average range. You can see excellent armor as well. Like, I guess that's something you kind of mentioned as well. You do have excellent armor as well, and then both offensive side are pretty high, like coming in to that 3,900 range. But those defense are not really like helping in terms of like the conversion. That's why you see the stat is not too high, but it doesn't really matter. I would say this one is pretty good overall, just by itself as the E skill already. Whether or not you want to put this on your main build for a stat sticker, it doesn't really matter. I think the overall purpose of this part over here is for this this EX over here. So that's pretty much it for the backpack over here. Moving on to some melee weapon over here, you have a large beam sword over here. So this one just by itself, no conversion gear, no melee defense. So you're looking at 11.3k already, so not bad. Word tech wise, you are looking at high firepower and Gundam type again. So this one is this one once you use an outrider job over here. This one is a good melee option for anyone up there that needs a good melee weapon. You get some initial charge when you are using T attribute, and then as an outrider job, you do get a melee power boosted by 35%. But I would say this one does have its own stipulation to restriction. It's not really restriction, but it just have conditions you need to meet. You have to be using a T type. If you don't really have a good T type, this one can be a good option. But if you have some pretty good parts for your T build already, I would say, it's just whether or not you want to upgrade and whatnot. But if you're someone who does not main T type specifically, you don't really need to get it. Let's say you have P and S type good already. I would job over here is not something I would say maybe I want to put it like a yeah 50-50. Some people use Infighter for portraits specifically. Some requires you to use Infighter, so obviously you can't have both together. So that's kind of one other stipulation. If you can use Outfighter, this is something good to get. If you cannot use Outfighter effectively, I would say this one is just something to just kind of skip on for now until maybe later down the road you can kind of use it effectively, I guess. So that is that. All right, moving on to the last weapon set over here. You do have your beam rifle, just a regular beam rifle. You do get a little bit of a melee attack as well. Shot attack is it's okay. It's not anything too groundbreaking. Pro tech and high firepower as for the word tag in terms of the portrait over here. Crit is not probably not gonna be the best thing you want to run on on a portrait, but they do have it here nonetheless. So I guess. In terms of the second portrait, when buffed it, ease could probably boosted by 35%. So this I believe someone have tested out that if you use the operator base, you can kind of bypass the buff condition over here. Because when you activate what is it, the operator boost, you see that below your health bar or your ammo bar, you see 4 different buffs. So that kind of bypass this one immediately. So let's say you hop into, I would say that one is only restricted to when you are running a squad. If you are doing like a normal 1v1, let's say like a one player type of event, you will need to have EX skill that kind of have buffs already. So that's kind of something to keep in mind when you're thinking about using this beam rifle over here. Okay, so I would say the overall best part you want to alterate for the set is obviously going to be the head. And then up next should be the backpack for the SS Power EXQ, custom EXQ. I think lastly, maybe the leg for like a really third option if you do have it. I think all the other like the chest and the arm, I mean, like just for the EXQ wise, I don't think you need A minus power. I think those are just good by so I would say the melee weapons or the weapon set are not anything too groundbreaking, so I'll just leave them as for your decision and all that. So with that being said, this will be it for the Helios review over here. I know it's been a long one. I think splitting them up is okay. I think it's just for me like rendering the video like both the review together. I think some up to like around 30 something minutes already. So when I render out the video, it takes so long. That's why right now, I think moving forward, I think I'll just have them split so I can talk a little bit more in terms of like this these part in general. So that being said, this will it for the Helios banner over here. This one does last until the August 31st, so it's not something you need to like. Oh, I need to summon right away. You can just kind of manage your horrors just to see if they're gonna drop anything new. Let's say like next week and next week. So that being said, this will be it, and then I will catch you guys all on the next one.